The evidence is there. You just can't find it. That chilling taunt was Ted Bundy's arrogant way of telling the sheriff he had completely outsmarted the system. He really thought he was untouchable. But man, was he wrong. Welcome to today's explainer, The Monster's Bite. We're going to unravel a really dark mystery in forensic odontology. How a brand new science caught a notorious serial killer, only to later ruin the lives of completely innocent people.
Part 1. The Monster's Crooked Teeth.
Let's jump back to 1978. A brutal Florida crime scene leaves investigators with absolutely no fingerprints and zero DNA. What they did find was a visceral bite mark. Odontogists were actually able to match it to Bundy's unique, chipped, and irregularly spaced lower teeth. He literally left his signature in the flesh. Part 2. Escaping the evidence.
Actually getting that dental evidence? Total nightmare. Bundy had already escaped custody twice in Colorado, first by jumping out a courthouse window, and later by actually starving himself just so he could crawl through a jail ceiling hole. He fled to Florida, committed his absolute worst atrocities, and was only finally caught driving a stolen VW.
To finally secure those dental molds, the sheriff had to use a daring nighttime warrant and lock Bundy into a custom leg restraint dubbed the Bundy brace. Cornered, Bundy just smiled from the dentist's chair and said, "Ken, you know I'm not a violent person. Do what you need to do."
Part 3. The Science of Bite Marks.
So Bundy's historic 1979 conviction absolutely skyrocketed the credibility of this new science. But here's the thing. Forensic odontology relied on a massive two-part assumption. First, that human teeth are as unique as fingerprints, and second, that skin can perfectly record that unique signature.
Part 4. Why Skin Fails.
Think about it. If you bite into something static, like wax or cheese, you leave this pristine 3D record. But human skin, it's a living, highly elastic organ. The second it's injured, it stretches, it tears, it swells up, and it actively begins repairing itself. All of that completely destroys the original shape of the mark. Researchers testing mechanical jaws on cadavers made a really horrifying discovery. Because bodies twist and turn during a struggle, the skin stretches unpredictably. They found that every single bite mark looked completely different from the teeth that actually created it, and different from each other. And honestly, it gets worse. When top certified experts were shown 100 photos of suspected bite injuries, they unanimously agreed on whether it was even a human bite in only 4 out of 100 cases. 4. I mean, if they can't even agree on what a bite mark is, how on earth can they use it to imprison someone?
Part 5. The Innocent Condemned.
Modern DNA profiling advanced, organizations like the Innocence Project began looking back and testing the saliva left on those old so-called bite marks. Time and time again, the DNA completely excluded the men convicted by these dental experts, blowing the lid off decades of deeply flawed courtroom testimony. 492. That staggering number represents the collective years spent rotting in a prison cell by just 40 people who were wrongfully convicted by this junk science. We're talking about nearly 5 centuries of human life totally stolen. The data is absolutely chilling. Studies show a false identification rate of up to 91%. Almost 40 wrongful convictions, 4 innocent people sent to death row. And this was all driven by dozens of board-certified experts testifying under oath. Take the case of Eddie Lee Howard, who was sent to death row in Mississippi. An expert claimed to find invisible bite marks on an exhumed body using ultraviolet light months after the crime and matched them directly to Howard. He lost decades of his life before DNA finally exonerated him. Unbelievable, right?
Part 6. Justice or just luck?
Today, modern courts are finally starting to reject this science, but it forces us to look back at the case that started it all. Ted Bundy's exceptionally crooked teeth, combined with extreme force, created a dangerous fluke. Getting lucky with a guilty monster gave a deeply flawed science a completely false veneer of credibility.
It's wild to think that the exact same forensic technique that brought down one of America's worst monsters was also used to put innocent men on death row. When we look back at the dark legacy of bite mark evidence, we really have to ask ourselves, was it justice or just luck?